He had seen thousands of men buy flowers for special ladies, but David seemed different. He didn't look like he was apologizing for a forgotten anniversary or trying to bribe his way out of a fight. He looked like he was genuinely happy. "Well," Jana said, trying to maintain her professional poise, "how about some long-stemmed red roses? They're the classic choice for a reason." "To cliché," David said, shaking his head. "She's not a classic kind of girl. She's vibrant, a bit unpredictable, sometimes a little prickly, but mostly just beautiful." Jeanette's mind immediately went to Chrissy, then to Jack, and finally, for a split second, to herself. She quickly dismissed the thought. What about a mix of birds of paradise and orange lilies? It's bold, colorful, and definitely not cliché. "Perfect," David said. "And I'd like a card to go with it." As David wrote the card, Jean couldn't help but peek. "To the one who makes the sun shine a little brighter. See you tonight." Her heart sank. Of course, he was taken. Men like David always were. That evening, when Jana returned to the apartment, she found a massive arrangement of birds of paradise and orange lilies sitting on the dining table. Her heart leapt into her throat. Could it be Jack? Chrissy? She shouted. Where did these come from? Chrissy wandered out of the kitchen, a wooden spoon in her hand. "Oh, those. Some guy dropped them off an hour ago. He said they were for the smartest girl in the building." Jeanette's face lit up. "Did he say his name was David?" "No," Jack said, appearing from his room. "He said his name was Honest Larry. He said he found them in the back of a truck and thought of you." The disappointment was so sharp that Jana had to sit down. "Honest Larry, the used car salesman?" "Yeah," Jack said. "He also said he needs to borrow $20 for gas." Jana looked at the beautiful, vibrant flowers, then at the empty card that Larry had clearly forgotten to sign. It was just another day in Santa Monica, where the romance was often second-hand and the flowers usually came with a debt attached. Chapter 9, The Office of the Explorer. For Chrissy Snow, being a secretary meant navigating a world of carbon paper, clacking typewriters, and the constant, roving hands of her boss, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers was a man who believed that his position as the head of a small insurance firm gave him the right to act like he was discovering new territories every time he walked past her desk. "Chrissy, dear," Mr. Rogers said, leaning over her shoulder as she typed, "I need you to take some dictation in my private office, where we won't be disturbed." Chrissy sighed. This was the 5th time today he had tried the private office routine. "Mr. Rogers, I can take dictation right here. My shorthand is much faster when I have a desk to lean on. But the lighting is so much better in my office," Rogers persisted, his hand hovering near her waist. "It highlights your dedication. The girls at the office called him Christopher Columbus, but Chrissy was starting to think of him as more of a Viking constantly raiding and never asking for permission." That afternoon, After a particularly grueling session of avoiding Mr. Rogers' exploring hands, Chrissy returned home to find Jack and Jonna in a heated debate about the bathroom schedule. "I need 30 minutes," Jack yelled. "I have to shave, shower, and meditate on my hollandaise sauce." 30 minutes? Jack, you're not a chef, you're a spa, Jonna retorted. Chrissy walked between them and sat on the sofa. "I've decided to quit my job." The room went silent. "Quit?" Jonna asked, her anger vanishing. "But Chrissy, we need your share of the rent, especially after the whole missing envelope fiasco." "I know," Chrissy said, her voice small. "But Mr. Rogers he's doing it again. The Columbus thing." Jack sat down next to her. "Listen, Chrissy, you can't let a guy like that win. You're a great secretary. You're fast, you're accurate, and you're the only person I know who can spell maneuver on the first try." "I can?" Chrissy asked. "Well, you can try," Jack said. "The point is, we'll help you. We'll come up with a plan." The plan involved Jack visiting the office the next day, pretending to be Chrissy's overprotective, slightly unstable brother from the Special Forces. "Just give me a look," Jack said, practicing his tough guy face in the mirror. "I'll stare him down. He'll be so scared he won't even discover a paper clip for a month." When Jack arrived at the office, however, he found Mr. Rogers to be a surprisingly small, nervous-looking man who seemed terrified of his own shadow. Is there a problem?" Rogers squeaked when Jack loomed over his desk. Jack, seeing his opening, leaned in. "I'm Chrissy's brother. I just got back from a 3-year tour in the jungle. I'm still a little twitchy. I don't like it when people touch my sister's desk, or anything near my sister's desk. Do you understand?" Rogers nodded frantically. "Absolutely, perfectly. No touching, no exploring, total isolation." For the rest of the week, Mr. Rogers stayed 10 feet away from Chrissy at all times, communicating only through shouted instructions from the doorway. It wasn't perfect, but it was a victory for the roommates of 201. Chapter 10, The Sunday Morning Shuffle. Sunday mornings in Santa Monica had a rhythm all their own. The air was quieter, the traffic on the PCH was a distant hum, and the Ropers were invariably in a state of mutual annoyance. Stanley sat at the breakfast table, his face buried in the sports section. They traded the pitcher, Helen, the only guy on the team who could throw a ball without hitting a seagull. Helen was staring out the window, a cup of lukewarm tea in her hand. "Did you hear me, Stanley? I said we should go to the beach today." "The beach? What for?" "I can see the sand from here. It's grainy and it gets into your shoes." "I'm not going." "You're never going anywhere, Stanley, except to the fridge and back. It's our day off. We should be living. We should be frolicking." "Frolicking." Stanley looked over the top of his paper. "At my age, I'd throw my back out before we hit the tide line. Upstairs, The kids were having a different kind of shuffle. Jack had discovered that they were out of eggs, milk, and bread. "We're starving," Jack announced, opening and closing the empty cabinets. "It's a famine. A coastal famine." "Jack, stop being dramatic," Jonna said, looking up from her book. "We just have to go to the store. With what money?"